Hi, everyone. I'm Cullen Haynes, and welcome to Lawyer Lending Live. My next guest may not need an introduction. He's an absolute powerhouse all over LinkedIn and in property as well. He's had many years in partnerships, bought his first property in 2015, and now heads up Your Empire Buyers Agents. He is one of the most well-dressed people in property and is sporting a lovely jacket and a paisley handkerchief pocket square. Please make welcome Mr. John Sermon. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. What an introduction. Can you hear me over the blazer?
We can hear you. We can hear you over the blazer, mon ami. You're a testament to the fact that who you are speaks so loudly in what you dress. I can't hear what you're saying, and you're doing so well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And look, I don't head up Your Empire. I actually head up the partnership team at Your Empire as well. So I don't want to upset anyone else back in the office.
Oh, you know what I'm all about. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good intro, please. But we've got a few people dialing into our live, mon ami, and I think it's very timely given where the rates are at. I will say it is 11:16, and I'm going to put that up there on the 5th of October. This is an official live, so please, it's interactive. Put your questions in. We're streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And this man, put your property questions right now. What's hot? What you're worried about? And John will answer them. But my first question to you, mon ami, is how is things going in your circle of influence? What's happening?
Oh, well, mate, on a personal level, I've just been overseas for a few weeks, seeing the family back in the UK, which has been great. I guess, like most things, you don't really realise that you need a break until you're on the break. So, the team certainly looked after things while I was away in September, but it's been good to be back, refreshed, recharged, and into another interest rate hike as well. So I think we're a lot of the people that were sitting on the fence and maybe frustrated, they're even more frustrated now. So it's been a definitely interesting few weeks coming back into it. Baptism of fire.
Baptism under fire. And look, that is the question I'm getting from all my clients. Have I missed the boat, Cullen? Rates are no longer 1.89. They've got 4s in front of them, maybe even 5s. Is it too late to get into the property market? I know your answer, but I want to dispel that myth. Is it too late, John?
Look, I think it's never too late. I mean, look, it depends on your why. If you're buying your home, if you're buying an investment property, it does depend on your why. But I think the thing is, we would always encourage our clients that if the banks can lend them money, regardless of what the interest rate is, and they can service it, they can keep a bit of a cash buffer, and they don't overpay on the property, it's always a good time. Because traditionally, property in Sydney, has pretty much doubled every 10 years if you're buying the right property.
Okay. And is that what you're seeing in the market right now with obviously the interest rate rises and whatnot? What are you seeing? Boots on the ground? I guess case in point, when I talk to clients, I say, look, people are telling me there's less competition. In my mind, that's a good thing for you because you're not competing and overbidding. What are you seeing right now in terms of, I guess, showing up to auction, going to those sales, numbers of people, competition, etc.?
Yeah, look, it's a great point. I think if we rewind back to those kind of first interest rate increases, that did spook a lot of people. Money's been cheap for a long time. So what we did see is that little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. The tightening of the wallets. What's going to happen? How far is this going to run? What we've seen is this time last year, where that kind of A grade and blue chip property that tends to command a premium anyway, and that's just because it's in high demand and short supply. Those premiums were definitely on fire this time last year, maybe 10, 20% kind of above those price ranges. What we've seen this year is those premiums have started to maybe come off a little bit. And actually vendors have perhaps not even put their properties on the markets. So yes. What we've seen over the last few months is those blue chip and A grade properties in those locations. So you're thinking kind of eastern suburbs, inner west, lower north shore, where a lot of those deals that we've been doing have been off market. From that side, and I guess really just seeing what the vendor's motivation is, making sure that we never overpay, and I'm sure we'll kind of come into that later on. What we're seeing, I guess, through the back end of these interest rate rises as well, is that actually there is more activity now starting to come through. So I think people are leaning on their broker a bit more, doing the numbers and going, well, if I can't get in now, I missed last year's boom. I'm realizing that serviceability is going to start to become a bit of a struggle. So I think I do need to get in now. Because remember, again, property's long term, right? So I think the media has been very, very good at just kind of doing the clickbait stuff around the
20% drops, 40% drops.
Yeah, but what does that actually mean to the average property investor or the average person that's trying to buy their home? And so if you can still afford it, people are still starting to realize they want to jump in.
Correct. And obviously we do lending at Legal Home Loans, only lending. We don't pretend that we know anything about where the hot spots are in property and accounting. So what I tell clients are, look, we know lending. Every rate rise of 50 basis points cuts into your borrowing power between 60 to 70 to $100,000 in your borrowing power. That's massive. So when you think about that, those clients that ask me, Cullen, I'm going to wait till the bottom. That's a general expression, like it's no one in particular, but I'm going to wait to the bottom of the market. I say, look, you can wait to the bottom of the market and you may get a better price. You may, but your property borrowing power will, and I repeat, will go down because the RBA and his Honourable Governor Philip Lowe has said that he's going to keep on rising rates, maybe even slower till Christmas. He's going to give us a Christmas present and not raise rates, but that's in my eyes potentially another $200,000 to $300,000 dropping in your borrowing power. So I'd love to ask you, how are these rate rises potentially affecting the type of clients that you look after? Because I think your Empire Buyers Agency actually specializes in a niche type of client.
Yeah, look, I guess we probably have about a 50-50 split in terms of investors and then owner occupiers. To your point, I think a lot of the conversations we've had over this year have been that back end of the boom last year. So the first time investors, the young professionals that want to buy their home or people that want to upgrade their home, you're absolutely right. The first quarter of this year, they could borrow 1.5 to, even $3 million and quite comfortably because money was cheap. Now those numbers are starting to come back down. And of course, that when that happens, you start to second guess things and you start to question things. What we've seen, I guess, in the first time investor market is they're kind of priced out of the market last year, but they're almost priced out of the market this year in terms of focusing on the quality of what they're buying because of that serviceability as well. So the conversations are around, if you're looking to buy perhaps a blue chip investment, again, that kind of high demand, low supply, you're still kind of in and around that $700,000 upwards, which is lumpy, for a first time home buyer. So that's where we can perhaps say, have you thought about Brisbane? Have you thought about Melbourne? Very different conversation if it's owner occupier though as well. And I think on that side, we've seen a lot of people that perhaps want to buy in the Northern Beaches or down in the Shire, where again, those, I guess, more kind of regional areas, if I can put it that way, where they're not in that kind of playground of the CBD, where prices shot up. Those prices have normalized a little bit as well. But again, it just comes back down to the borrowing capacity. So, I mean, is that kind of conversations you're having as well? You've had to
absolutely. Look, the first question I get is, look, I'm thinking of, dipping my toe in the next 6 to 12 months. I actually say, good, get your pre-approval organized because agents are now having to sing for their supper. Brokers are now having to sing for their supper. Like you can't just open a door and sell a house anymore. You have to put in the hard yards. So qualified buyers are few and far between. You getting that letter that says you are pre-approved. This is a message to everyone out there, not just lawyers. Get your pre-approval organized because it shows the agent, it shows the vendor that you are serious and they will put you to the top of the list. If you come and buy a house, and you can attest to this there, John, and they ask you, are you qualified? I'm speaking to my broker. I'm getting the finance sorted. They go, look, this person is not organized, and they put you to the bottom of the list. In point of fact, John, I had a client 2 weeks ago that told me, Cullen, I got the property because I had the least number of conditions on my pre-approval, and I had my pre-approval. So thanks so much for organizing that, Legal Home Loans. Like, it just makes no sense that people don't get their pre-approval organized because it's free, costs you nothing, and it lasts for 90 days and you can always roll it over. So I'd love to know your thoughts on the pre-approval conversation that you have with your clients.
Oh, look, so every client that engages us, we make sure their pre-approval's ready to go. Because I guess while educating, you would know in the Sydney market, even in this kind of market at the moment, the right property is still hot. Cheap properties are cheap for a reason, whereas the right property is still hot. So I would say out of our last 10 purchases, there's probably been 7 or 8 of them that have been off market. And that just comes back to the relationships we have with the agents. So they know our process. They know that all our clients are pre-approved. They know we do, they know we buy independent valuation. So that's when they say, hey, John, Kel, Chris, Lewis, James, Kelly, Laura, have you got any clients that this fits their brief? Have you got any in this space that we can maybe work together and everybody wins? So that definitely helps when our clients, they have to be pre-approved. And that's where you're really good at introducing as well, just saying, hey, this is the conversation. And then we work with those teams of professionals along that process too. I mean, out of interest, how long are you seeing a pre-approval kind of takes when you're hammering the banks, Cullen?
Good question there. Good question there, John. This is like a backwards interview. I love it. So I would say shout out to average brokers out there. There are 17,000 here in Australia. They take 6 to 12 months with the average broker looking after mums and dads and whatnot, which is pretty standard. Lawyers are a different beast, John. They are laser focused. They're very intelligent. And we find that most of our lawyers that get pre-approval have it for 3 to 6 months. So they roll it over about once, because if a lawyer is getting pre-approval, they are using it in most cases, because they don't waste time because they're time sensitive. I always say they're not like the people that bring their gym bag to work just to make it look like they're going to the gym and never use it. They actually want to use their pre-approval. This ain't no dress rehearsal. But it is a good question. And I would say, because it's the number one question I get, does a pre-approval affect my credit score? Here's a little bit of coaching in terms of what good and bad credit is. And John, I know you and I like Robert Kiyosaki and the like that talks about good debt versus bad debt. A home loan on your credit file is considered good debt. It shows that you are going to enter into an arrangement with a bank if you're asking a bank for a loan. Never says if you're approved. It just says that you actually went for that loan. And I've bought a few properties in my time as well. Every time I've gone to get a home loan, my score has actually increased a month after, because it's considered good debt. Now, that being said, if you go to bank to bank to bank to bank within 3 months and you've gone to 10 banks, that's not good, because it shows cash flow issues that you can't get lending. Now, on the other side is credit cards, car loans, payday lenders, all those kind of things. Harvey Norman, you get a Go Money card. All of that is considered bad debt, because it's not growing, I guess, your net worth. It's actually considered, I guess, short-term cash flow lens. So getting those type of things do impact your credit score, but a pre-approval won't. And I know there's a lot of credit card junkies that are watching that love the points, that do the balance transfers. That kind of stuff is not good for your credit score, but pre-approvals are fine. And rolling it over is not, I think the record in our company is 4 rollovers. So like a whole year, and we've eventually bought. That hadn't impacted that client's credit score at all. And we've got some viewers that are watching there, John. We've got Adam Thomas. Hey, John and Cullen, my galaxies have collided, which Adam is the CTO of OFX. So that's great that Adam's joined us. And Mina Abel Sayed, a regular viewer, has tuned in as well. And Mina is a leading lawyer in his own right. So great to have some great comments there, John, that people are watching. And please put more questions in there if you've got a property related question, a region. I guess it's a good segue. What kind of questions do people ask you as a client or new client to you, John, right now?
Yeah, great question. So I think where do I start is the first one. So I think one of the things about your empire is all the team actually have a vested interest in property themselves. So actually the genesis of the business, it was founded by a chap called Chris Gray, who's a fellow POM. He actually just bought property himself as a wealth creation tool. So a lot of people will naturally come to us and say, how have you done what you've done? Who are your experts that you used? So if someone's coming to us off the bat, maybe they've seen us on the news in a good way, or read the website, or read Chris's book, The Effortless Empire, we would say, who's in your dream team? So to your point, get a broker. Don't just go to the bank to get your loans. Get a broker. Get a choice of what loans fit what you're looking to do. Someone that's buying a home is going to want a different loan to someone that's buying investment property. It's not all about interest rates. And then I guess from a buyer's agent standpoint, again, our job is to work with our clients on their brief and give them a choice of properties that suit their brief. And in essence, I guess, save them kind of 5 or 6 months on doing open homes, giving out all their data or their telephone numbers on things. And again, it's about giving them choice. And then I guess we kind of bring that into the circle of then working with the advisor or the accountant to then see what that kind of long-term plan is. Again, property is a long-term play. So it's really helping the client get those professional teams in the mix, so then we can do what we're good. So if you think of it as a wheel of cheese, we're the property wheel. Yourself, you'd be the broker wheel. Then you've got the accountant. We can do we actually work with conveyancers and property managers and valuers as well. So that kind of we bring to the party. And then I guess it's really just distilling what the client's why is. So again, are you looking to buy a home? We actually get quite a lot of interstate clients that come to Sydney for work, and they do the maths. They kind of go, well, I don't want to rent for 2 years. I'm going to buy something that'll be my investment property, and then when I go back home, if I don't like Sydney, we'll then rent it out as well. So it's really distilling what the story is. Remember, property is a long-term game, not short-term.
No, this is not cryptocurrency, and it's not there to make a quick buck. It is, you're right, time in rather than time in, as it were. And there are some great allied professionals out there, like conveyancing. Brooke Glastonbury from McPherson Kelly is a gun. I don't know, you and I both know, Brooke, that we send our business that way. Accountants, I can name many. Prathana Harris is fantastic. And financial planners, there's so many that I can recommend. And I think it's good to have that message of a wheel of cheese, to have those professionals in your arsenal, because all the best professionals know they can't do it by themselves, and you're never going to be able to cover everything. I think Henry Ford, when he was being interviewed in he was the founder of Ford Motor Company, and someone asked him, Mr. Ford, how do you know about this part of your business? And he goes, well, I don't know. I've actually got the people from that division right here, because I know I don't know everything, and you need to have that support network. And I always love that story because it's very similar in business.
Well, you mentioned actually, which a lot of people, we get questions on because we use that saying quite a lot. Now, I want to hear how you interpret this. You said time in the market rather than timing the market. What do you understand by that?
Well, my contention is that because it is a long-term play in my mind, that whether I was quite fortunate, I bought in 2020 just before it went skyrocket, but that was a pocket in time, right? That was when rates were ultra low, and it was just in the middle of COVID. So that particular timing was quite good. But I'm going to be holding on to this place for 5 to 10 years. So no matter what happens, for me, the time in my play of 5 to 10 years, in my mind, is going to reap dividends. Now, clients investing now or getting into the market now, obviously the rates are higher and very different to when I bought. However, the property prices are lower. And if they've got the long-term play, again, it's going to be the same thing. Rates are going to go down in future, and we're going to see a boom. So in my mind, it's all about the long-term play in my mind, but that's just the way I see it there, John.
Yeah, no, I think you've done it well. Look, the perfect storm does not exist. You're never going to get low rates, low property prices, high yields, and then easy money. So it's dispelling that myth straight away. And again, going back to the why.
No, I love that. And a question for you, because I guess the work of a buyer's agent, when there's like the red ocean. Now there's blue ocean, red ocean. Red ocean is everyone competing. It's bloody. It's competitive. There's sharks everywhere. I'm thinking 2020, 2021, where it was very competitive. A buyer's agent's value was very important because you need to have the you need to have the know-how, you need to have someone who can give you the edge. Now that it's kind of turning into this blue ocean where there's not much competition, there's a lot more choice, but it's a minefield out there. What would you say having a good buyer's agent does for you in this kind of blue ocean scenario?
I would say it's same meat, different gravy. because there's the choice, it's about finding the right property or the right asset. So
yes,
people would naturally go towards the cheaper properties, Whereas we want to focus on actually buying the right kind of property. So, for example, if we're buying, it's about, if you're looking from an investment lens, it's about buying the median property at the median price in the median suburb. So if you think eastern suburbs, kind of Bondi Beach, that kind of stuff, then you're looking at a unit which is one of 6 or one of 12, not perhaps Alexandria, the unit's one of 100, because then it's just that supply and demand. So you're right, whilst there's choice out there, there's still a lot of education that we do to make sure we're finding the right style or the right kind of property for the right purpose. So that's one of the things. And also we turn down a lot of stuff that we get offered as well, because again, it just comes back to, from an investment standpoint, making sure that it's attractive for the tenant that wants to live in there. So as an example, if someone's looking to perhaps buy a little 1-bedroom unit which is right next to the beach, you might say, I'll have the ensuite, which is actually not an ensuite, it's a standalone bathroom, because when you have your mates over, you don't want people wandering through your bedroom if they're going to use the facilities. So it's those little kind of nuances as well that we'll walk our clients through and share with our clients. And it's amazing how many people don't think of that. We had someone the other day looking to buy just for the next 3 to 4 years, because then they want to buy their forever homes. They're using this as a stepping stone. So that brief and that finding that right property is kind of paramount to make sure that they can then get enough growth out of that to then pull out equity to then put that towards their family home in that 3 to 5 years as well. So again, it's helping them with the location of where they're going to buy. So that's probably the bit, is we still get offered lots and lots of property, but it's making sure we're still buying the right one, not just doing a deal for the sake of doing a deal. And then
I love that.
We will always buy at independent valuation prices. So as part of our process, we'll send out a valuer to look at that property, and our goal is basically to buy that property at or below that independent valuation. So you would know, Cullen, when you buy, you make your money in property when you buy the property, not when you sell it. So this is why most of what we buy is pre-auction or off market, because you're eliminating that competition. Even in markets like now, the good stuff still goes. So if someone's overpaying 100,000, 50,000, 200,000 at auction, how many years of growth has that got to be until they hit where it should be, what the value of that property is? So it's important to never overpay on property. And that's something that we do as standard, not afraid to walk away from a deal.
Love that. And Amina, and God bless Mina, he comes out with some great questions and has asked you there, John, if you want to start investing in property, what would you recommend having as a starting budget?
I would say speak to, if Mina's, you obviously know Mina well.
He's a fantastic man and a regular.
Yeah. So I would say speak to Cullen, Mina, see what your borrowing capacity is, see what you can borrow, and then focus on the quality of what you're going to buy. So that could be a blue chip investment here in Sydney. We actually bought a place in Neutral Bay for 720 earlier on for an investment client of ours. If your budget doesn't go as far as that, where are the other blue chip areas in and around Australia? So again, think of the places where there's high demand, limited supply. It's a median property, a median market. So Brisbane is going to be a house, maybe 3 or 4 bedroom. Melbourne's going to be a townhouse. But again, think of it from a supply and demand element.
Okay, great. And thank you for that question, Mina. It's fantastic. And, yeah, it was. And you and I subscribe to the same belief of don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. People don't want the features of what you do. They want to know why you do it. And I use the example of you go into Bunnings, not for a drill, but for a hole, because you need a hole in the wall rather than the drill. Now, people come to us at Legal Home Loans because we're in the business of time, not finance.
Yeah.
The average application takes 31 hours. If you're a leading partner charging $1,000 an hour, that's 31,000 worth of your billable hours that you're investing in your own application with a bank or a mediocre broker or I won't say the name, but an online lender that you have to do it yourself.
You're very
similar to yes.
You're very easy.
And probably people know what I was going to say. But for buyer's agents, very similar model. You're in the business of time and you're saving your clients time. I guess lawyers who are in my network and professionals watching, how does it work at your empire? what can they expect from your service, and what's the indicative price range of the model that you're charging there, John?
Yeah, sure. So how it works is we are client brief specific. So we're not aligned to any developers. We tend to focus on the second hand or the old and existing properties. Again, those kind of blue chip areas. I think that's where the banks like to lend against, which I'm sure you'll agree with as well. And I think it's just really working with the client to see what their why is. We tend to be finding properties anywhere between 2 and 14 weeks at the moment. So we've actually got a lot of inquiries recently because we're coming towards that last quarter of the calendar year, and people that wanted to do it at the start of the year and the interest rates have started to increase, they've still missed out. So again, it's giving people the choice of what they buy. So I think very similar to you, Cullen, in terms of saving them time, taking the emotion out of it as well. We deal with a lot of professionals, time poor executives that they just want an investment, or even with their home, they just want to take the emotion out of it. Get a choice of things to look at that's distilled in terms with their brief and been through our due diligence, and then make a decision that we help them with as well.
Love that.
So I think kind of distilling element is really powerful for those time poor people that they don't want to spend time on a weekend or in an evening because they're busy. They're perhaps in court, they're operating, that kind of stuff as well. Look, from a fee,
of course.
How it works is we charge a retainer we have a conversation because we want to see if we're the right fit. We're not going to take on a brief unless we think we can actually fulfill the brief as well, which is important for us. As you said, we've been going the best part of 20 years. Our average client's got 4 properties with us. That's not because we buy them lemons, all right? Because our average client is looking to actually build a portfolio. So we're able to make sure we can actually service their needs and fulfill their brief. We then have a retainer, and then the balance is paid on exchange. It's a 2% fee, so fairly standard in that real estate world. And again, it's just helping the client to do that bit.
Love that. So please reach out to John, DM, slide in Instagram, LinkedIn. Where are you mostly located, my friend? Where can people find you?
The LinkedIn's always a good one because you hang out with the right professionals on LinkedIn like yourself. So LinkedIn's always good. Or drop me an email, john@yourempire.com.au. Happy to have a conversation, whether it's with regards to owner occupier or investment, or just send out a free copy of Chris's book, The Effortless Empire.
Boom. And the last point, what would you say is the number one thing people watching or tuning into this live after the fact, what do you want them to walk away with, John? What piece of advice?
Take action. If property is part of your wealth creation strategy, and that's either an investment or buying a home, and you can get your money you can borrow some money, just take action. Buy the right one, never overpay, and get that kind of dream team around you as well. But I think, again, I've been in the position. So you asked about my why. I was actually a client of Your Empire back in 2015 and 2017. So when I was asked to come on board to head up their partnership teams, I was more than happy to do that, just because of my experience. And again, Kel and Chris actually walked away from a few deals for my wife and I because it just wasn't right. Which is a great thing to do. So I think just take action. And that's whether it's having the conversations with yourself like Cullen, engaging a financial advisor, engaging a buyer's agent, just do something.
And you're already doing that yourself there, John. You're a true gem and powerhouse in the industry. Great having you as a colleague and friend, mon ami, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Lawyer Lending Live, my friend.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Good man. And we come out every Wednesday with a live stream. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a great Wednesday.